Hello, it's Peter Wright and Kathleen Beauvais with another weekly wrap up for the Yakking Show. And first, let's introduce co host Kathleen. Hi, Kathleen. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Peter. Thanks. And thank you also very much for tuning in today. We so appreciate having you.
Absolutely. And to put it into perspective, we're talking about the week ending 4th of October. Wow, Christmas is getting closer and closer, isn't it? And just for those of you, we commiserate with those who are suffering from floods in
Mm.
southern states of America, unseasonal cold in parts of southern Africa, and a lot of rain in parts of Europe. We have very nice fall weather. The sun's shining. It's a little cooler this morning. The leaves are turning color, so it's quite an interesting time of year. Anyway, enough waffle about the weather from me. So, Kathleen, do you want to start off with your deep dive into your health recommendations?
I do, Peter. Today, I'd want to talk about the benefits of caffeine.
Ah,
So, for all of
okay.
you coffee lovers out there, you may want to hear about this. So, there's a study that was released just last month in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism. They found that coffee or caffeine consumption may offer significant protection against cardiometabolic multimorbidity. So, this refers to having at least two disorders affecting the heart or metabolism, such as
Mhm.
type 2 diabetes, coronary heart disease, stroke, chronic kidney disease, or non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So, I mean, isn't that a bit of good news about you
Yeah, for
coffee
sure.
lovers out there? So it says here, though, the intake of moderate amounts of coffee, and they're saying that 3 drinks per day is moderate, um, decrease the risk of new onset CM or this cardiometabolic multimorbidity by 40.7%. So
Wow,
that's
that's
significant.
huge.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So what they say, while the study suggested that moderate caffeine intake is beneficial for most healthy individuals, high intake was not, as it can cause serious heart problems such as disorders in heart rhythm, as noted by the journal. So it says another factor to consider is caffeine sensitivity, which causes some people to experience side effects even when ingesting small amounts. So you be the judge of your intake and see how you feel. But signs of taking too much caffeine include, of course, heart palpitations, higher heart rate, high blood pressure, anxiety, insomnia, headache, nausea, and jitters. So, what are your thoughts, Peter? What do you think about that?
No, I think that's right because I had an experience not that long ago where I was referred to a urologist because of my age, and men of a certain age end up with prostate problems, which I didn't have. But in discussing my condition, I have irritable bowel syndrome as well. Yeah. Or in discussing that with the urologist, he asked me to compare my fluid intake with my fluid output. And he felt that my fluid output was not as high as it should be given my fluid intake. And he then asked me how many cups of coffee I drank a day. And at that time, it was about between 4 and 5 cups of coffee, 2 cups of green tea, 2 cups of black tea a day. And he said, your caffeine intake with all that might be a little high. I would suggest you cut it down a bit. So I went on to decaf coffee for that reason. But what he said was quite interesting. He said that although, as you've just said, caffeine can have some beneficial effects in moderation, in excess, and even not in moderation in certain people, it can impact the kidney because it prevents the bowel absorbing enough of your liquid intake to go through the kidneys and flush out the toxins. He said, so effectively some of that liquid's going out, not doing any good, going out the wrong way. So
Mhm.
he said, just cut it down a bit. He didn't say don't take any caffeine. He
Mhm.
suggested I cut it down. So I went on to decaf coffee, and I've kept my 2 cups of black tea a day and my 2 or 3 cups of green, which don't have any caffeine in. And I feel better, and my system seems to be working better in all
Right.
respects. So he might have been onto something.
Well,
And yeah,
yeah,
so it's good.
Well, you remember me saying that I love, I'm a coffee lover, just
We know
absolutely
that.
love
Yeah.
coffee. And I used to drink caffeinated coffee until I started going through regular body cleanses, like detoxification
Hmm.
cleanses. And I found that it was horrible what I went through in terms of caffeine withdrawals.
Okay.
I would be sick for probably 4 days after stopping caffeine altogether. And when I say sick, I mean like flu-like symptoms. I'd have a horrible migraine, a horrible headache that would not let go. I just felt just off, just absolutely off. And that led me to think, you know what? It's not worth it. I may as well,
Mhm.
if my body has become so dependent on caffeine, I don't want to have anything more to do with it. So I stopped all caffeinated beverages from that moment. And I haven't had any caffeine in I don't know how long. And if I drink coffee, it's decaffeinated coffee. And I know some people are going to say, yes, but decaf has a little bit of caffeine, but it has a minuscule amount of
Mhm.
caffeine compared to fully caffeinated coffee. So that's what works for me now. And
Sure.
yeah, and I know
Wow.
it works for you too, don't you?
Absolutely. I've got to say, though, that because of my British upbringing in Southern Africa, we were tea drinkers rather than coffee drinkers.
Mhm.
From, I suppose, late childhood, teenage years, early adulthood, with my parents, it was one cup of coffee, always instant, always Nescafe. We would have one cup of coffee after dinner in the evening. That was it, no more coffee. And that was my life until I came to Canada. And when I was doing military service, we would go in the bush for 4 to 6 weeks, and the army coffee, if we were back in base camp for a while, was awful stuff. So I would go 6 weeks without a single cup of coffee, and it didn't worry me, right? So I didn't develop that dependence or addiction, whatever you want to call it, as a younger adult that many North American people would do.
And then you
So for
came to
me,
Canada and then were introduced to Tim Hortons.
that was my downfall. And I think I've got to tell the story for our audience that I came to Canada in February 2003. It was a bitterly cold part of winter, and my son picks me up from Pearson, and there's ice and snow everywhere. There's accidents on the highway, and we're going to Brantford where he lived. And he said, "You want a cup of coffee?" And I'm looking at the highway saying, "How are we going to get a cup of coffee?" He says, "Easy." Pops off the road into Tim Hortons. And I said, "What's this?" He said, "This is Tim Hortons, and this is the drive-through. You don't even get out of your car." And I said, "What? We didn't have drive-throughs back where I came from." So when I got back to Africa after that first initial trip, everyone said, "What do you think about Canada? What sticks in your mind?" And I said, "Tim Hortons."
I love it.
And I've been a fan ever since. Anyway, that's enough about me and my addiction to Tim Hortons and support of Tim Hortons. So, Kathleen, any more on the health side? You've got a health recommendation to give us, haven't you?
Well, I do. And of course, we love Dr. Morse products here and we use them. We both do. Peter and I both use
Yep.
Dr. Morse products. But today I wanted to talk to you about the lymphatic drops. We've talked about the importance of good kidney filtration as well as lymphatic drainage. Dr. Morse really highly recommends doing a body cleanse and you're cleaning the kidneys and you're cleaning the lymphatic system. And I've actually, he has different grades of lymphatic drops. So you don't start off at the top, you start off, very gently and then work your way up. Right now, I have just graduated, if you will, to the lymph drainage moderate movers. Oh, I don't know if you can see that, but those are
Okay.
the drops that I'm just starting now. And so you wouldn't necessarily start with this, but it's part of the whole detoxification process. So the lymph drainage formulas support healthy lymphatic tissues and nodes throughout the body. And the lymphatic system is an integral part of the immune system, making this formula an immune supplement as well. So this particular lymph drainage, moderate movers, it's called, it's a strong lymphatic mover. So the powerful combination of POC and bloodroot stimulates the flow of all the liquids in the body. So we're talking about blood, urine, lymph, bile, and excrement are all stimulated by these herbs, and blockages like boulders in a flash flood, they say. So So Dr. Morse recommends including a lymph drainage formula in all detox protocols to ensure that the lymphatic system, what he refers to as the body's sewage system, remains fluid to promote the proper removal of waste from the body. So once again, Dr. Morse, and we're going to, of course, put a link to Dr. Morse products. And if you use Yakking Show in the code, you get a discount. So that's lovely.
Good. Well done.
Mhm.
So, that's probably something that I should add to my list of Dr. Morse products that I'm taking.
Mhm.
Moving on from health, let's tell you what happened on the Yakking Show this week. So on Tuesday, we had Dr. Tom Ingenio from Tom City Integrative is the name of his clinic, and he was talking to us about cupping, the ancient art of cupping.
Mhm.
And it's quite intriguing how cupping is coming back into popularity, having been sort of on the back burner for a while. It's ancient. I think it's been going for 4,000 or 5,000 years. Was initially started by the Chinese, I think, using animal horns as the cups to produce suction, using flame to take out the air from the horn. It's a much easier and safer system now, and you use silicon cups. There's one of them right there that you squeeze the air out of. I don't know if it'll stick on my hand. Yeah, it'll stick, and it raises the skin and separates the skin very slightly from the fascia and the muscle underneath, and it stimulates blood flow, movement of toxins, and a whole lot of other benefits, and it's becoming very popular. So that was our guest on Tuesday. And while I'm talking about Dr. Tom, our book and our author of the week is his book, The Cupping Book. I don't know if you can see that there. There'll be a link to that in the description, and all about cupping. So that was a good one to watch. Yeah, you've got it. Yeah, we're both using them. So, and cupping is very good if you've got aches and pains, particularly in your back and in your large muscle groups. If you want to know more, listen to or watch the episode. And Dr. Tom also gave us a blog post, which is on our blog, which explains more about cupping. That was that. Who's coming next week? Next week, we'll have Alan Meisner, and his speciality is helping people over 40 maintain fitness. And he has a lot of ideas and reasons why you should work in your 40s to be fit, or before your 40s, because once you pass 50, it's so difficult to rebuild muscle that you may have lost from a sedentary lifestyle. So that's a good one. Following him will be Lauren Callahan, who specializes in gut health. She's also a Ironman triathlete and an ultramarathon runner. So she has a lot to talk about gut health. And then the next one after that will be Sarah Dawkins, a British lady living in Spain who talks about holistic healing. And that's another good one with some interesting tips in there. So that's what's coming up on the Yakking Show. For those of you who watch our videos on YouTube, we are categorizing our videos into the different topics like parenting, holistic health, near-death experiences, women's health. Make it easier for you to find the videos, the episodes that you're particularly interested in. So watch out for that. Playlists is the word I was looking for. We're creating playlists. And that's it from me, except to tell you we've got all these interesting guests coming up for you. To make sure you don't miss out on them, hop onto our website, theyakkingshow.com, and sign up for our weekly newsletter. We just tell you who's on this week, who's coming next week, Kathleen's deep dive into health, and a health tip, and a book of the week. That's it from me. Thanks for listening. Back to you, Kathleen.
Well, thank you all so very much for tuning in, and we hope to see you again next week. So until then, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.